Hello and welcome to my channel, Rolf. We meet, I think this is the second time, and
Yes.
I'm really happy. I hope you had a wonderful summer.
Well, thank you very much for having me again.
I hope we will have a good connection. I feel the need again to explain in front of my community because every time when I'm doing registration with someone from far away, especially if it's from United States, well, you are not now in United States, but I'm just saying,
Yeah. hmm
sometimes it's a big break in between when the sound is coming. And yes,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I finish the question, it's a
yeah.
gap and you just watch and you don't know if an answer is coming and when. So
Well, the good thing is my internet is much better this time than last time when we did it.
I'm
So
really
at least
happy
from
for
my
you.
side,
Yes, I
yeah.
had a lot of problems here. And a lot of people are complaining because in this area of Germany, and I don't want to say anything bad about nothing, it's really an issue. The internet, it's a
Mm,
very big challenge.
okay.
So, how it was the summer for you?
The summer was actually pretty nice. I mean, I live in Cyprus now for like since the end of last year, so
Mhm.
pretty much for 10 months now. And it's definitely like living here is already like being on a vacation.
I can
Um,
imagine.
I've yeah,
Mhm.
I also traveled to Greece just the last 2 weeks, and that
Super.
was pretty interesting. I was on my Mars line. We can definitely talk about that some other time.
Where
But
exactly?
I
Where
was
exactly in Greece?
first in Athens,
Mhm.
and then I was in Crete, and
Wow,
both
beautiful.
places absolutely amazing. Highly recommended for anybody who wants to travel. Crete is also pretty favored by families, right? So
Mhm.
if you want to travel by family, it's also a great place.
Mm.
Both places have amazing food, and Crete especially has great food. And
I know what you describe because I had the chance to see some islands and it's really an amazing weather, everything. Oh my God, I miss
uh,
that place. I hope soon I will go again. I don't know when. I was a little curious how you felt when you described me before we started this
mhm,
registration that your Mars line was activated, stronger
yeah.
than probably in the location where you are living. How
mhm.
did you felt? How it was?
Um, I because I was there with a friend. It was kind of interesting because the Mars got triggered by our friendship or relationship over there,
Mhm.
which kind of
Struggles. Yeah.
yeah, it really activated it. And
Mm.
the funny thing is, we even have Mars square. Her Mars
Wow.
squaring my Mars. Now I have the Eris Mars, even though it's retrograde. At some point, it can get very uncomfortable. Now,
Mhm.
of course, it was nothing physical or nothing brutal, but
Pressure, stress.
at
Yes.
some point, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do my own thing. Goodbye, and I just left.
Mm.
Even
Mhm.
though the whole travel was actually planned and booked together.
But you, as an astrologer, you knew
Yeah.
if you travel in a location where your Mars line will be activated, you
hmm
will get some challenges, and you were somehow prepared,
Um,
and
I
still you did it. I
I have
mean,
been I have been to Mars lines before, right? I've been to Mars lines when I was 15, which was the Shaolin Monastery in China where I trained,
mm,
and I've been several times to Latvia, and that's also on my Mars midheaven line actually. So I didn't really face the same thing that I faced right now, but I can also tell you that even if the place, no matter if it's challenging or good
mm,
or easy, um, the person that you travel with has a strong impact with you, especially when you spend a lot of time together. So their chart gets pretty much as important as the country's chart or your chart in the country, right?
okay,
Because you
so
are in
it was a
constant
different
exchange.
situation. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
If I was alone, it would definitely be very, very different. So
Are you
that
search?
that yeah.
Are you searching for these lines when you want to travel? Are you
No,
searching for these
no.
special
Um,
energies like Mars or?
like I'm definitely interested. I didn't do it this time. I'm definitely interested. Yeah, of course. I want to travel all of my lines at some point, at least for every planetary line, one of them.
To see how it is?
Um,
Yes.
yeah, to get to know them, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Now I can tell you that the way that I practice relocation and astrology in general is I try not to micromanage everything. I don't try to plan everything. So if somebody recommends me to travel to a place, uh, I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's
Hmm.
check it out, And
Yes.
usually I don't even look at the chart of that place, because I don't care if it's difficult or not, right?
Hmm.
It's like if I go to a place, and if a person wants me to go to a place with them, then for me, this is in a way kind of an opportunity by the universe, to
Yes.
go a different route than I would go on my own, right? So I always, like, I open up to the universe to give me a new experience,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's how I see it, and that's why I don't try to, especially the places where I travel to, I don't try to just uh, control everything,
Hmm. Hmm. I
right? Now
understand.
I want to have good time, so I go to my Venus line. I used to do that, but it's not that simple, and it's also like when I travel to a place, I do that more for research,
Hmm.
especially when I go to a line, but less in order to get a specific outcome.
Somehow I feel that we try to trick our destiny if we are searching for special places
Exactly,
where we can
exactly.
activate, like you said, the benefics, let's say the Jupiter line or Venus line. And yeah, some experiences you really need them, even if they are full of shadows. They make
Yeah,
us better, stronger, complete. Yes,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
we're not supposed to, just sit at home, watch Netflix all day, and eat ice cream,
Exactly.
right? So,
So, saying that, I think we will jump in our topics. Today, we have a very interesting story for my community and your community. And by the way, how it was after the first interview and after the first dialogue between us. You had
mhm,
feedbacks from your community or
yeah.
questions or curiosity. Can you describe how it was received?
Well, the the video was very well received by
Hmm.
the Facebook group. I also had a few people contact me for a reading,
Wonderful.
and it was definitely, it's just a nice way to show people a different way of practicing this, right?
Yes,
Because,
yes.
like, I'm also interested in hearing how other people do it, which is
Hmm.
great. Why? Because you have your platform, right? And your platform connects a lot of astrologers from all over the world,
Yes.
and that's something that is very special. And it's like, no matter what level somebody has, you
Hmm.
can always learn from them, and there's always at least one or two things.
Personally, I've been surprised by the interest on the Romanian people
Yeah.
about astrocartography. This
Oh
was
yeah.
something new.
Mhm.
You can't find easy information, at least on my
Yeah.
language, about this
Yeah.
topic, and this is
Mhm.
a big plus for me. And that's why I said, okay, let's do a second meeting and let's jump in some topics which actually they were suggested by you. And
Mhm.
I think I will invite you to tell to my community and your community because we will be watched by both. What about are we talking today? What's your
Of
wish?
course, of course. So, um,
If you want, you can even
I'm
share the charts or what you
yeah,
have
yeah, of
prepared.
course. No, I'll
Yes.
just do that. But before that, I'll start uh, to just say what I'm gonna do right now.
Hmm.
So
Please.
the overall idea of what I want to do today, in this meeting, is to give you a perspective how you can use astrology in order to understand what the universe wants you to do,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
That's pretty much the overall idea. What I mean by that is, I think that the universe has a tendency, or actually always communicates with us, right, through symbols.
Absolutely.
Astrology is one
Yes.
of those languages. There's many other languages. One of them is tarot. There's other ones too. But since I really resonate with astrology, that's my tool, and I can show you several examples, several impactful charts in my life
Hmm.
that many people wouldn't even care to look at, right?
Hmm.
Because they wouldn't believe that it has an impact, right? I mean, the majority of astrologers just look at people, and when they look between people, between two people, they only look at a man and a woman in a romantic relationship, so very one-sided.
Hmm.
But then to understand that everything can have a chart, right? Every big decision that you make in your life, every contract you sign has a
Yes.
chart,
Yes.
and then when you start from that, which I have done since in the past 5 to 6 years, where I pretty much every big decision, I'm not always trying to look at the transits, but if something happens, then I'm interested,
Of course.
right? So
And it
I have it documented.
after you've searched these moments of your life,
Yeah,
I'm absolutely
yeah.
sure it changed the perspective. At least you
Oh
understood
yeah,
better what happened and why, and what exactly was activated in your birth chart.
that's pretty much what I'm going to talk to you
Hmm.
about.
Hmm.
Let me just open the charts so you can see them.
Yes, please. And
So
especially about the return charts, I was curious to ask you. Of course, I
mhm,
will have spontaneous questions, depends by what you will talk about and describe.
mhm,
But about the return charts and about the solar return, for example, because it's something
mhm.
used to be known in Romania, and at
Yeah,
least with the
yeah.
people around me with who I've talked and the messages which I'm getting via email or the comments on YouTube, I have a type of feedback from there. And some of the people are working on the return charts with the natal location, the
Yeah,
birthplace, or
yeah.
others are working just
They
with the
relocated.
relocated. And
Yeah,
now
yeah.
here it's a lot of debate because it's not very clear what's the best
Mhm.
and what's really working. And probably you have more
Mhm.
experience here. And I would be very curious if you can share some
Yeah, of course, of course. No, that's
feedbacks.
a very good point.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good question. Let me just also open that so I can show my solar return as well.
If I open the
So
solar return, I am losing from the internet power and I don't want to risk.
no problem, no
It
problem.
happens a lot of times and I effectively lost the connection. I said, oh, why? Because I was opening solar fire. So that's the wonderful internet here. Yes,
Okay,
I have
no,
later,
I
after
understand.
you finish your presentations, I have a story for you too, but it's not quite a story. Actually, it's more curiosity based on what we've talked on the first meeting, but
Mhm.
let's cross step after step.
Okay, sure.
Mhm.
No, of course, that's totally fair. Um,
With what do
let
you
me share
want
my.
to start?
I'll start with the solar return chart, right?
Mhm.
My last solar return from last year.
Okay, now
Okay,
it's coming. Yes,
so
I can see.
um,
Hmm.
this is my so there's two ways of looking at a solar return chart, right? And I definitely recommend looking always at both sides, right? Looking at the solar return in itself as a chart,
Hmm.
right? But then also looking at the solar return in synastry to your own natal chart, right? So I definitely recommend to do both, right? This is my solar return chart from the last year, right? In October 7th last year, um, 2021. That was when I had my last solar return, and you can see, which is very interesting, Mars sits exactly on the sun, right? Because what is the
Yes,
first thing you look at in the
yes.
solar return is the sun,
Hmm.
obviously, right? It's the main planet to look at. It's in the fourth house. There's Mars there. The fourth house is all about home, feeling at home,
Hmm.
coziness, creating your home, and Mars is all about taking action, right? And it sits exactly on the
Hmm.
sun. Now, what did I do? I moved. I took action and went to another place. Now, where did I move to? I moved to my sun line,
When was
right?
happening this? In which year? Or
this this was in the end of this year. There was a
hmm.
December 18th, 2021,
Okay.
right? So I already decided to do this. I already like started my company in October, like a few days after this. So this is the first way to look at it at a solar return chart. As a solar return chart is to look at the place. I am definitely one of those people who mainly uses the relocation chart,
Hmm.
right? Um, because I am in this place. I live there. I have the energy of that place. I breathe the air. I eat the food. I drink the water from there. I interact with this in a regular basis. So I am in that
Yes,
place's energy.
yes.
That's why I think that this is very important. Now, another thing which was very true was also me being disillusionized by my work, by my job before, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm disappointed
Mhm.
how the companies work. I mean, not just the last one, in general, how the whole system works. And that was also Neptune, right? Neptune is kind of illusion disillusionment,
Mhm.
right? It's a process usually, and also Neptune, it doesn't just sit there and then continue. I mean, here you can even see it's retrograde.
Yes.
It's moving around, right? It takes like 3 steps forward, 5 steps forward, 3 steps back, right? Always
Yes.
like that. It always goes in retrograde. Like every of the slow planets, they go retrograde in quite a lot of time in the year.
Mhm.
Now, the this already shows, okay, a change in the career, and then also all of this happening in Pisces, right? I mean, what am I doing? I'm an astrologer right now,
Yes.
right? So this is a Piscean energy with Neptune in its own sign on the midheaven, right?
Mhm.
I didn't even consider to really officially become an astrologer back then. um, it was just something where I saw I wanted to go to Cyprus for several reasons. One of
The
them was tax.
the most
Yeah,
majority of the stories are happening exactly as you described. Nobody planified, they just suddenly discover they are doing, and
exactly,
you are called. Punct. It's no
exactly,
long story.
exactly.
If it's
So
written, it's written. Yes.
it's
Mm-hmm.
exactly how you say, right?
Mm.
And the you can also see that Chiron is also in the 10th house, right?
Yes,
Which
I
is
wanted to
also,
ask you how did you felt that
yeah.
energy and how it was influencing you?
Well, I mean, when I officially started with my business, like really starting out, Chiron was on my relocated midheaven,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
right? So like
So not so
exactly on
easy.
there.
Mm.
Well, it is a struggle in the beginning to tell people that you're an astrologer, not because they ridicule you, like very few of them actually do. A lot of them are just curious, but it's because, like, definitely me and many other people, it's a feel embarrassed,
Yes,
like telling
somehow.
someone you're
Yes.
doing something that doesn't, like, you didn't even believe in yourself like 10 years ago, right? It's kind of feels kind of strange, and you feel you are afraid of being the outcast and being judged and everything,
The
and to some
perception,
extent of,
yes, the
yeah,
perception is different, and I have no idea how it's in the location where you are living now, but here, at least in Germany, yes, there is a strong activity on the astrological field, but it's a
yeah,
closed circle. It's not so much in online.
90 to 95% of my clients come from the US,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the US chart, the 4th of July 1776 chart, has its Saturn exactly on my sun.
Mm-hmm.
Get most of my business there, right? Makes sense. Another thing that I find pretty interesting is that in the US, it's totally normal for a company to have its own astrologer and to have its own shamans. That's totally
Yes.
normal,
Yes.
right? In Germany, you're like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with you?
In Germany, they believe astrology it's esotericism. At least this is my first feedback, and it's a rough feedback. It's a raw one, if I can say so. I'm not very sure if it's all over like this or it's just in this
Hmm?
area where I'm living here now. But I will discover much more after this dialogue with someone from here.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
very curious how it affected you this story of this chart in the moment when you started
Well,
to discover the influence of this energetical place. Yes.
the thing is, a lot of the times I try not to do too much with the charts. I start to work with a return chart, for example,
Mm-hmm.
when I feel like I'm stuck, because then I want to know, why did I go in the wrong direction? What might be the wrong direction, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But since I kind of felt exactly what I needed to do, I didn't really focus too much attention on these charts, to be very honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen in my own, like in all of my clients, the ones who really are intuitive, they don't even need astrology. And if you really feel like this is the right thing, I need to go there, I need to do this,
Yes.
then a lot of the times you don't even need the confirmation anymore because you know it's the right thing. And
Exactly.
then you see, Mars sitting on Sun. I mean, Mars
Mm-hmm.
is gonna do whatever it wants anyways,
Absolutely.
right? And that's pretty much what happened. So, um, and of course, I mean, one of the reasons was also going to Cyprus. I got a nice sum of money through investments, and the thing was, of course, in Cyprus there is no tax for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not the only reason. I like, one of the main reasons was also the sun, because, to be very honest, the weather, I couldn't accept it at some point anymore. And also, let's be honest, fruits and vegetables, 20% of them are regional in Germany. Everything
Mm-hmm.
else comes from outside. In Cyprus, it's 80% that are regional. So,
They are from
of
there.
course, the food tastes better, right? 300 sunny days is going to make better fruits and vegetables. So, all of this definitely had an impact. I went to other places too to check them out, but Cyprus was very obviously the right place. And it was not just because it was on my Sun IC line,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very important to be aware of that. Just because you are on a specific planetary line or sun line or moon line, it's not gonna guarantee that you are gonna do very good over there, right? And I had my
Yes.
challenges. That's that's why we're doing this talk, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a good example of someone who goes to a place, kind of, I mean, I didn't expect everything would be perfect, but goes to a place where everybody else would say, oh, Sunline, very nice place, it's just going to be beautiful for you.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just that,
Yes.
right? It was definitely also challenging. um, Here you can, just to show another way of looking at solar charts, solar return charts. I really like to look at solar return charts in synastry to your natal chart,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
This is my relocation chart now, right? Because I changed this to Cyprus, and like I said, I definitely believe that the relocated natal chart has a stronger impact,
Stronger.
especially if you really, um, if you adjust to the energy there, if you adapt to the energy, right? Um,
But
Now,
you had a
yeah.
goal with these steps. I mean, you chose today to show some charts about some important moments of your life.
Mhm,
And of course,
mhm,
the chart will prove if something was activated or not, and you will
mhm.
come with details. But especially for these charts, you had a goal for that year. And I'm asking this in a specific
Yeah,
context.
yeah.
I.
My main goal
Mhm.
was to go to a warm place, where I feel better, where I feel like I have sun all the time. Because I was in the last few months that I lived in Germany,
Mhm.
like the last half year, I was ordering ripe fruits from outside of the country, right?
Okay.
Because like they were picked in the moment when I ordered them. So I'm so obsessed with good food,
Good food. Okay.
that yeah, that's one of the main reasons. The other one is definitely the sun, and I wasn't willing to pay any of the taxes that I had to pay for the investments. I paid lots of money for the work that I did, because in Germany pretty much 42% of everything just goes to taxes that you make.
Mhm.
But I didn't accept to pay anything for the investments that I made,
Mhm.
because like that's my own risk. There's nothing that I get as a benefit from working. I do get benefits, but not from investment. So I was like, I'm not gonna accept paying anything. And I looked
Yes.
at different places, and
Mhm.
also went to Panama City and looked other places too. But this was by far also, from a geostrategic place, the best place, because it's in between all the countries, right?
Mhm.
It's so
Mhm.
nicely centered, which is why it was also conquered by so many countries and owned by so many countries, because everybody wanted to have this nice island that connects all the other places together.
Okay, so the main goal it was to have a beautiful weather, if I can say so. First of all, good food and a kind of good life. Why not? And
Good quality of life.
good
That was
quality
the
of
main
life.
thing. Yes.
I was asking this
Yes.
why because I've seen a comment done by Cindy McKean on
Hmm.
your Facebook community where actually I discovered you, and I
Hmm.
hope soon I will do with her an interview too because we had huge problems, internet problems,
Hmm.
and I don't want to say more. And she, I think it was just a few days ago, I've seen a comment done by her there, and she says something like, it is very important. Well, some people are thinking, okay, should I? I'm just extracting a fragment from this story. Should I move to my Venus line or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
these very
The
simple
question is,
questions?
what's your goal? Why do you even want to do
Yes,
it?
yes.
Right? Yeah, of course,
And
of
she
course.
said she said something very interesting here because you need to take in consideration a lot of aspects, and it's not only your of course it's your birth chart, especially your
Yeah.
birth chart, because everything is starting from there. But I would ask you why you picked these charts today for this meeting, and what exactly happened in the moment when you crossed through that events. So this was one story. It was something activated here in this chart.
Well, the thing was, when I was looking around for different places to move to, or one place to move to find have a new home,
Hmm.
I checked out Cyprus mid of last year, and I totally fell in love with it,
Hmm.
right? Uh, and I really liked it, and it felt home, and that's how I decided to come here, right? That
Okay.
was pretty much like it's sometimes, like, yes, I definitely had a goal, right? I had a goal to have a nicer life with more, it's better weather,
Hmm.
better food,
Hmm. Hmm.
and less taxes, obviously.
Hmm.
So that's definitely my goals. Those were my three main goals. um and another one was just get away out of Germany, right? And I have no problem with Germany, but for me, it wasn't the best environment,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
And like, I know, for example, and this is definitely based on charts, right? I mean, I showed the charts last time with Germany, my chart with Germany.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
um it wasn't easy. It was pretty challenging,
Hmm.
to do that, with to live there in the last years. And I mean, pretty much all my life I had challenges there, even though it was very beneficial financially, right? So it wasn't just a bad thing. And everything that I have today, I definitely also, I'm thankful for Germany, right? But when it comes to living there, nope. That I just knew already, like, for many years, that I wanted to go away. And and then the last year I was like, nope, I'm not gonna, like, I'm not gonna stay 1 month longer than I have to.
I would be tempted to ask you how is the situation now on that place where you are now, because some
Yeah.
people start to become stressed by the future, especially considering that what is going on in the east of Europe. And
Mm,
are the stories around you focused on that direction or not? Without going in details, without creating
so
panic or
so
something, but
I'm one of those astrologers who doesn't really want to go to politics, just for a very
hmm,
simple reason,
I
because
know.
I believe that if you do it correctly, it works so well that some people will try to eliminate you.
Hmm.
It's really just what I believe.
Okay.
Now, you can call me crazy for that. That's totally fair. But I've gotten results that I never expected would work. So if that really works so well, like I think it does,
Hmm.
I mean, I use it for, for making money and for retiring last
Yes, I
last
know.
last year. So, I mean, I did get my own results. I proved to myself that it works. So if I do that with politics, I mean, what can assure me that not at some point someone will try to eliminate me, right? Because it makes sense.
Yes,
He knows too much. He
it's
sees too much.
it's your opinion. You assume
Yeah,
what you want to say here.
yeah,
I'm just listening, and I
yeah.
consider
Of
it's
course.
absolutely logic to think like this.
Yeah,
It's not at
yeah.
all something
And
crazy.
also, like, it's not like I'm not trying to force my own agenda onto the world. I
Hmm.
think that the universe kind of has this plan, right? We have the tendency to just be angry at the politics and everything, but maybe in a way there's a reason why things are,
Why
right? Why
things
we
are like
have
this? Exactly.
politicians that we
Yeah.
don't like,
Hmm.
why
Hmm.
someone is doing this and someone's doing that.
Hmm.
I don't even know enough to really, you know want to really make a big change. What I like to do is I like to make my small changes with the people who contact me,
To
or
adapt to the
help people.
situation. Yes.
Yeah, or to
Hmm.
help people to become their own astrologers. That's actually my favorite activity.
Yes.
And that's pretty much it. And I think that already, is something that where I can really offer a lot to the world, and also get a lot back.
And now this story was just leading me on the next question. How
Mhm.
much should we control the charts that we create? And here I'm very curious about your opinion.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, let me just show you. Let me just show you
Please.
something, right? Let me just open. This is my Cypress chart, as you can see,
Hmm.
right? Having the sun on the IC, right? I live on my sun IC line. Again,
Yes.
everybody knows that this is a good place for retirement and everything. Now, if we look at the Cypriot chart, we can see, good for business. Why? Because the Jupiter is in the sixth house,
Hmm.
conjuncting my strongest conjunction here. We see that there's, financially it looks very good. There's many things that already showed that Cyprus is gonna be good, but I felt it. I felt that it's gonna be a good place,
You
right?
felt immediately.
Now,
Hmm.
when I first officially arrived, which was December 18th, and what I mean with arrived is when the plane touched the ground,
Hmm.
right? That's what I mean arrived. That was exactly 6:17 p.m. And the first thing you can see, there's a strong connection to the descendant, right?
Yes.
Pluto,
Yes.
the part of fortune, and Venus, all of them are on the descendant, right?
You work with asteroids too, and I would like to describe what's in this chart because on
Mhm.
my channel here there are different house systems, different guests, different
Yeah, yeah,
techniques. So tell me what's in this chart. Which are the asteroids
sure,
with which you are
sure.
working?
I definitely believe in using asteroids. I can tell you that the main asteroids that I use, of course, Chiron,
Hmm.
very obviously.
Yes.
I love Eris, even though Eris, in my opinion, is not very accurate in the wheel chart.
Maybe you can say
Because
some things about Eris today, even if it's not the topic for today, but just a few things and why you
yeah,
like.
well, the reason why I like Eris is because, in my opinion, she's the goddess of disruption, and like if we look at the today's world, it makes sense to talk about chaos, and it makes sense to talk about energies that disrupt
Hmm.
things, that disrupt us, because we are totally in the time of disruption, right? If we
Yes.
really look at how things changed in the past years, I mean, now everybody works from home, right? Or not everybody, but a majority, a
More or
great
less,
majority,
yes.
which was impossible before. If you want to go shopping, you just do it online. You don't go outside anymore.
Even the
If you
doctor
want to,
analyses are online. I mean,
yeah,
a
it's everything.
dialogue
So
with your
so
doctor and it's immediately fix it
and
if yes, if it's
and
possible.
while people are trying to, only talk about the bad sides of this, it actually empowers us because we have individualities now. Now we don't have to go to the big prison
Hmm.
every day, travel there 2 to 3 or 4 hours every
Hmm.
day just to go to the work, because not everybody has the advantage of just living 30 minutes away from their work.
Hmm.
And um and suddenly things get easier, and people have a better life. That's what I think disruption is all about, making things easier, right? Before, when you wanted to listen to a specific song,
Hmm.
you had to buy the record, you had to buy the CD or the cassette. Now you just go online and listen to it,
And you have the
right?
yes.
That's how this that's why I like Eris, because she is pretty much the energy that describes all of this. And we can definitely do a talk about Eris, because I think she, like, almost nobody really talks about her. But I can tell you that also Eris for me plays an important role, because I live on my in between my Eris midheaven line and my Mars midheaven line. So I live
Can you
exactly on the midheaven
yes? Can you show on the chart what you just
midpoint.
described?
Yeah.
I'm curious in which house it's now. Where
So
is
Eris, like,
and
from a again, this is from the Inmundo perspective, right?
mm-hmm.
So I look at when my sun actually touches the Eris line, which is here, because,
Okay.
like, in the real chart, Eris would show here, but Eris is
Hmm.
actually more like here. And I'm exactly in between Mars and Eris,
Hmm.
right? So I'm on the midpoint midheaven line between Mars and Eris, which means, and I mean, I come here to disrupt astrology, to disrupt how people look at astrology, right?
So
So
she was
kind of,
activating now your 10th house. She's crossing now through your
definitely,
10th house.
definitely, not
Okay.
just the 10th house, it activates the
And
whole midheaven
MC.
because it's
Yes,
in
of
between
course.
that. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so that's definitely what I feel here as well. I also I love Cyprus because it's so chaotic, right? It is so chaotic in a good way, in a
It's
funny way.
it's
And
challenging you. You feel alive there. Let's say like this. It's easier.
yeah, well,
Yes.
it's just, when something doesn't work out, they're like, okay, we'll make it work anyways, right?
Hmm.
That's what I like about Cyprus. They always find a way to make it happen,
Yes.
right? Now, what I can already see in this chart, right? Because, like, a lot of my chart, I mean, I have the strong Uranus Saturn conjunction, right? And Uranus
Yes, I've seen
Saturn,
that. I wanted exactly about this to ask you now.
yeah, yeah, it's
What's going
I
on there?
mean, what is Saturn? Saturn is structures. What is
Hmm.
Uranus? Uranus is freedom, crazy creativity. It's also like, it's the opposite of a structure, right? It's unordered. It's
Hmm.
totally being, from order to chaos, right? That's pretty much what this is. So in a way, I can either use my Saturn and my Uranus together and create order out of chaos,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at any system, there's always chaos first, right? Because
Yes.
it doesn't make any sense. You just see way too many things. Just like when you started to drive your car, you were not aware of anything. Oh my God, where's the gas? Where's
Mm.
where's the shift pedal? And at some point, you start to understand it better. And that's pretty much how I approached the whole astrology thing. Now you can see that the sun, when I arrived, right, set exactly on my Uranus Saturn. And I mean, this is pretty much how I approach astrology, right? I
Yes.
tried.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's my whole approach of astrology is to use your Uranus and Saturn and to always like it's also an energy where I question authorities. Where I'm like, okay, you're a good astrologer. Now get me the results, please,
I
and
think
show me how it works.
yes, I think you've just described the combination
Yeah,
between the archetype Saturn and Uranus because you say it's
yeah,
Sun, and now people will be confused because you said about chaos and about unexpected things and about
yeah,
freedom, but actually you described the energy from Uranus. And
yeah,
this is the combination in your chart, but you didn't
yeah,
specify, and that's why I was interrupting you. Sorry, because
yeah, yeah.
when people will listen, they will think that you describe the sun because you continue it.
Oh no, no, no!
No, no, it's not so
It's
about.
the
Yes,
Saturn
yes.
Uranus connection that I have in my chart.
This is
Now
your
this gets
energetic
activated.
signature.
It
Yes.
gets activated by the
Hmm.
sun of the time when I entered the system.
Hmm.
When I officially, I mean, I went there before, I got my rental contract and everything, but this is the time when I officially was like, okay, today's the day that I move here.
Wow.
This is the time when I really live here
I
now.
think you really felt it. I mean, with such a
Yeah,
position on that point, you really
yeah.
felt that
And
energy.
then
Yes.
you see that Mars is trining Mars,
Hmm.
right? And it's also trining the midheaven,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So that's definitely a strong one. And you can see that Uranus of the time when I arrived also trined exactly my moon,
Yes, and
right?
mine too. Hmm.
So there's many like stronger connections. Now there's also one that I also kind of felt,
Hmm.
which was Mars opposing Jupiter, right?
Yes.
Because I was getting lazy, I wasn't doing anything in 6 months, and I was getting very uncomfortable at some point.
But I was interrupting you. You started to
Mhm.
describe the asteroids. We stopped at,
Yeah,
and you didn't finish. I was asking you with how many asteroids do you work? So you said Chiron.
I work with. I mean, Eris for me is not an asteroid; is a dwarf planet, but I
Yes.
still a lot of astrologers call it
Hmm.
asteroid. I work with Juno, the goddess of partnership.
Yes.
I work with Pallas, Athena, the goddess
Hmm.
of wisdom.
Hmm.
Of course, I use the black moon as well, even though it's not even an actual point; it's like a fictional one.
Hmm.
Um, and I use Ceres, the goddess of agriculture, also known as Demeter, and I use Vesta, right, the
Super.
goddess of dedication, of hard work, right?
Hmm.
Those ones I definitely use. And Chiron is obviously the most important of all asteroids because I mean everybody knows how important Chiron is.
Absolutely.
It's the wounded healer who
Yes.
can't heal himself. He's
Yes.
also the abandoned son.
I
So all of
had.
this energy
Yes.
we
We had here on this channel dialogues about Chiron, and it's really a wonderful energy if you start to
yeah,
understand how it works. And but I would be
yeah.
tempted now to ask you about Lilith, about the black moon.
Mhm.
How do you feel this energy in nature? How would you describe? It's another topic which about you cannot find easy information, and not
Well,
all the schools from outside are working with Lilith. How do you
yeah.
feel these energies?
Lilith has a very similar energy to Eris. It's not like Eris is much stronger in my opinion, but Lilith is pretty much like a hidden divine feminine energy,
Hmm.
right? And when I say that, you don't have to be a woman to use it, just like Eris, or Pluto, you don't have to be a man to use plutonic energy. Um,
No, I'm curious
the
if you have studied the transits of Lilith and the influence of Lilith in your chart. If you
I only used her as natal and as synastry charts. I didn't look at the transits to be honest.
okay, hmm
Yeah, so that I haven't, but everything else, I definitely believe in using her until you really are sure you're not getting any results.
absolutely.
So that's how I usually do it. Um, Now the Vesta is obviously an important one for me because it's connected to my son,
Mm-hmm.
right? Dedication, hard work, and I mean all of these asteroids have an impact, right? So it makes sense to look at them, and to understand them, and see, you know, how they make sense in our lives, right? That's why I'm really a big believer in that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we go back, because like I I I came to Cyprus firstly just to first do nothing at all. Now you have the sun, you know, that is conjuncting this, so this energy uh, wants to be released, right? The Saturn Uranus is like, where's um, my stage,
Mm-hmm.
right? I want to be expressed. Then you can see that there's uh, Mercury exactly sitting on my Neptune, right? I mean, all of these things in the sixth house, they already want me to work, right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
ignored it. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. I knew it in a way, but I just didn't want to do it. I just
Mm-hmm.
ignored it,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's pretty much how this all played out. And then, you know, there's also Pluto and Venus on the descendant. I mean, I already told my mom when I saw, you know, that Pluto transit again. This is the relocated descendant, right?
Yes.
This is my relocated chart from
Mm-hmm.
Cyprus. So Pluto hitting that, I already had the experience 2 years ago in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I had another strong Pluto aspect, but I only have this one mainly. But what I can tell you is that I told my mom from the very beginning, I think I'm gonna have some financial issues, even though it doesn't make any sense. But there's gonna be some kind of a restriction, some kind of an issue,
So, as a first
and
influence, you've seen that on the financial field, not on the relational
yeah,
field, or
um, definitely also that, but not so much because like I had Venus, the progressed Venus on my sun.
mm-hmm.
So for me, and now I can you can also see that Venus is also on the descendant. I didn't see that so much as a challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Venus is there too. I'm not saying that it doesn't have an impact on relationship. It definitely does,
It
especially
does.
right now because it's
Yes.
still there. But at the same time, like the first thing that I knew and the first thing that I care about was not relationship. It was about, you know, uh, how well I'm gonna do financially. And
Mm.
seeing that Pluto is on the descendant, Pluto on any axis, that's something that Cindy McKean also always says. You know,
Mm.
Pluto. Whenever something costs $1 for someone, for Pluto people, it's gonna cost $2. It's just the way it
Yes.
is.
Yes,
It's
I
just
understand.
yeah,
You
yeah,
take in consideration progressions because, again, not all of the astrologers are working with this technique. And I'm curious because now I'm studying this. And I would
yeah.
ask you if you take in consideration progressions as an internal change or as an evenement too, or both aspects, or how do you relate with this technique?
Okay, first of all, to be a little bit provocative, like astrologers who don't use progressions are wasting a lot of their potentials, a
I believe the
lot of their
same.
potential,
I
like really.
totally agree.
And
Yes.
like especially those astrologers who are in the financial markets
Hmm.
and they're not using progressions. I don't know what the hell are you're doing, really, like, because that's
No,
pretty much
we don't
that gives.
judge them. It's just that I'm curious, what do you take from that
Well,
chart when you
the
use
the
and
thing is,
how it helps you? Hmm.
the progressions are like very strong transits in my opinion. They're much stronger transits than the normal transits because again we're talking about secondary progressions, which
Yes,
means
secondary
everything,
progressions. Yes.
right? For a year
Hmm.
of your age, you just add an extra day
Hmm.
to your chart. So I'm gonna be 34 in 4 days, so I'm gonna add 34 days to my chart, and that's then we have the progress chart, right?
Hmm.
Now what I do is I use it as a synastry, and I use it and a synastry to my natal or relocated chart. And I definitely believe that also the progress chart in itself has a strong validity, has a strong impact. But the strongest impacts, in my opinion, are progressions to your natal chart,
To your
right? To
natal
your
chart.
natal
Yes.
planets,
Yes.
and then you can see, you know, what houses get activated. Like for
Hmm.
example, the Venus. You know, when Venus, the progressed Venus, hits my Sun,
Hmm.
I know that the Sun rules. If you use Placidus, right,
Yes.
rules my second house cusp,
Hmm.
and the second house cusp is money.
Absolutely.
So I know that this is a good money aspect, right?
Hmm.
That's pretty much what this means from my perspective. Now, um, the the thing with progressions in general is, if when I look at any of the situations in my life, the progressions always had a karmic effect. Now, what I do believe, when you use progressions properly, um, you are not just going to see things that are going to happen. You can actually make these effects stronger, right? Especially if you have a very positive financial aspect and you're not doing something with that. It's just, maybe you're gonna get I don't know, someone's gonna give you $100 as a present, but that's pretty much what's gonna happen,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But when you really use it and put it to work and make something with this and learn something in that timing, and talk to people,
Hmm.
that's the time when you can very likely attract the right people who know things,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
That's
Yes.
how I see progression. So I definitely believe that progressions are strongly underestimated
Hmm.
in their effects. And
They
I,
need to
I
be used.
definitely
I would recommend
I
to everyone.
I
Yes.
invite everybody to try them out and see. Just like one of the things you can already, at a certain age, everybody has experienced it. At least after 30, um, at some point, everybody's progressed sun changes the sign,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and you don't even need to have a birth time for that. You just need a birth date.
Yes.
At the moment when it changes the sign, and that can be 1 year before or 1 year after, you are going to feel a big shift in your life,
Yes. It's a
right?
special, it's another
Uh,
type of energy, at least inside of you. You relate with
yeah,
everything around you
yeah,
in a different way.
yeah.
I will.
So I definitely believe that that has a strong impact. Now, again, it depends, how much do you give this an outlet, right? How much do you allow this nature to work out in your life? Are
Hmm.
you trying to force it to shut up, or are you trying to do something with it?
How do you use in a progress chart? Mercury, it's going direct and it's going retrograde.
Yeah,
And when
yeah.
it's going retrograde, it's another story about the amount of the Earth and how long time it's spending in a
It,
progress
it
chart.
takes a long time. Yeah, I mean, a Venus
Yes, and I'm
Venus
sure
retrograde
you can
takes
see some
40 years.
differences. Yes.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It 100%. Like, it definitely, like it definitely makes sense to see when a planet in progression goes direct or retrograde. That
Mm-hmm.
that really, like, a lot of the times, right before something switches from retrograde to direct, when you start a project, you know, you're not gonna see the effects of it on the beginning, but at some point when it starts to go direct, boom, it just explodes.
Yes.
That's,
Yes.
so it's a lot of the times when you have a retrograde, and you know that it's about to finish,
Mm-hmm.
and you do something with that energy, you can have an amazing effect, a really great strong aspect of using the momentum. First it goes in the wrong direction, and then it goes in the right direction, and you really can use that as leverage. Now, that's just one of the ways. Now, in
Yes.
general,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
a retrograde is always an inward energy, right? The energy turning inward.
Yes.
So it's definitely something, like the direct is like the expressive outside kind of energy. The retrograde is inward.
I was asking you about Mercury because I was thinking about the connection with the way how we are
Mhm.
thinking and the way how we are probably doing money. And when we want to do money, I
Yeah,
think logically we involve the mind, and the way how we function on that level will affect the way how we are able to earn money. And
yeah,
it's a very
yeah,
important aspect to know. It's very important information to know about the progress chart, especially if you have the Mercury retrograde. I am just tempted to
yeah.
say I was not yet following in details how these affected me in the past.
Hmm.
Now
Hmm.
I'm in a deep study about, but
Good.
I'm happy that you are using this technique. Yes,
Yeah, and I also use Solar Arc, right? Solar Arc just
thanks.
says everything moves 1 degree per year. I don't know why it works, but it's the oldest prediction method in Western astrology. So I highly also invite people, highly recommend to
Hmm.
check it out and see, what kind of results that will give you. So and also tertiary progressions, right? Tertiary progressions, while the secondary progression makes everything 365 times slower,
Hmm.
the tertiary progression makes everything 29 and a half times slower, right? Because it pretty much says every degree of the sun is one lunar cycle, right?
Yes, yes.
So also that has an impact, and it makes sense to look at these things and to see, what's happening in your life, and then,
Mm.
when you see there's a good aspect, just ask yourself, how can I make the best out of this aspect?
Well,
How can I make the most out of it?
I would dare to invite you for another dialogue exactly about the progressed
Yeah,
methods, and maybe we can prepare some charts to see some specific
definitely,
moments and how that
definitely.
influence was acting.
Okay. Now that was the last chart. I just want to
Hmm.
show one thing again, right? There's a lot of energy in the sixth house telling me to do something with work or health, right? Because that's the subject of the
Hmm.
sixth house. And the you know the Saturn Uranus also on the sixth house cusp, right? Doing my own thing with my own strategies, right? Because pretty much Saturn Uranus also means creative strategies, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
putting something into structure, putting something like materializing a thought, because Uranus is like crazy thoughts, right? Lots of crazy ideas, and that conjuncting Saturn, makes the crazy thought into reality, into a
Hmm.
something that's materialized, and that's pretty much my whole goal when using astrology, to do something that you can actually uh, verify.
Yes.
Now, what you can see is that the midheaven of my arrival also runs exactly pretty much through my sun to my Mars,
To your
right?
Mars. Hmm.
And that is also trined by Mars. So definitely this shows like a willing, that the universe wants me to do something, right? It's
A lot
like,
of energy on that field. Yes,
yeah.
everything is sustained and it's a harmonic aspect, and it's a.
And this is
Mhm.
something that I haven't seen anybody else doing, but it's very similar to horary astrology. I just um, made I just noted down the exact timing of my rental contract,
Okay,
right? The exact
interesting.
time when I signed my rental contract, because again, this is a significant thing, right?
Hmm.
It's a very
Hmm.
karmic decision where to live, where to stay for a very long time, and so I first signed it. Like I said, I don't try to adjust charts. I just like to listen to the universe, what it tells me. And
Yes.
now we have this very extreme chart, right? I mean, extreme, why? Because Uranus is exactly on the ascendant and Mars is exactly on descendant, right?
But
So
how
this is,
interesting is that it's about Scorpio and Taurus. This is
yes,
again connected
yes.
with doing
And
money,
not just
having
that,
money, getting money. Yes,
Pluto is
the
also on the
resources.
midheaven,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not
Mm-hmm.
just that; it's also on the midheaven, the Pluto, and
Yes.
a lot of Scorpio energy here as well, with Mercury and with Sun. So this is definitely, like, first of all, like, we have to state the obvious, right? Everything on the axis has a very strong impact.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does this mean? It means how my life will be in that place, right? Now, the first thing I can see is doing things very differently, right?
Yes.
My self-expression and the things that I do. Yes, I have. Second one is Mars opposing that, and Mars opposing Uranus. I mean, a lot of astrologers will agree, has to do with electricity problems. It's just the way it is,
Mm-hmm.
and or anything with electricity, but not in a like in a tense energy. And I never had so many electrical problems like I had in that apartment,
Wow.
right? Like, it started also financially interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It started when I arrived, after a few weeks. It was actually getting pretty cold, so I needed a heating.
Mm-hmm.
And in the supermarkets, they were all selling these very inexpensive electric heaters, so I just got a few of them and turned them on. And then, after 23 days, I got my first electricity bill, because it was still, continuing from the older bill,
Yes.
and I had a bill of 418 euros. Right,
Wow.
first it looked like 218, and
Mm.
then I saw that they already took away, the money that you have to put on the in the beginning,
So it was a
right?
misunderstanding, not the real consume, or how?
It was the real consume.
It was a
It
real
was real.
consume. Okay.
Yeah, because electricity is very expensive
It's
here,
expensive.
right?
Yes. Mm.
Especially in Cyprus, because they burn petrol, right, in order to create electricity, because it's definitely, like, the way that they do it is it's not really allowed to 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 do electricity in the way that Cyprus does. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to,
Mm-hmm.
like, Cyprus has to pay fines for that to Europe, to the EU.
And
Now
what you
the thing
just
is,
described, where do you see in the chart what you just described that it happened? Can
I see
you?
that there's definitely something with money because Pluto in the midheaven, and I see
Okay.
that there's an electricity problem between Uranus and Mars. It doesn't matter,
Hmm.
what story happens, like what story happens to play out in this, but I can tell you that this is definitely financial problems as well, and or financial challenges in some kind because of Pluto on the midheaven, and also the opposition of Mars and Uranus. Right? This is
And
Uranus here. This
yes.
is Mars,
Hmm.
and having the opposition definitely means electricity problems and also like a strong usage of electricity. Now,
And
um, yeah.
when you see such a chart, and when you expect some issues, some problems on that field, but
Mhm,
you don't know exactly how they will, what type of shape they will
mhm,
take,
mhm.
how do you work with such a story? I mean, you
Well, I
knew
already
something
I
is
already told my
what you
mom
did.
that this is going to be happening, and just a few weeks ago she's like, you told me all these things before. It was I was like, yeah, because you can see that.
Hmm.
Now you can definitely see that, like, anytime when something with Uranus and Mars is happening, there's kind of a strong tension. Now you always have to look at the relationship, right? I
Yes.
mean, a lot of people who are, I think even Nikola Tesla has some strong Uranus square aspects. How do you approach it? Well, very simple. You just have more respect for electricity. You're more
Hmm.
aware of things happening. I
Yes.
burned four of the adapters, 4 or 5 of the adapters that I have. The adapters, they got too hot and they just burned. I burned several of the adapters. Another thing that happened was my stove broke down,
Oh my god.
and my washing machine broke down, and the fuse
So a lot of
always.
accidents connected with
Yes,
electricity and all kind of
every,
surprises. And then you
everything.
switched the location, you changed the place, or what you did?
Yes, but that took some time, so I changed that 2 months ago or 1 month ago.
Hmm.
But no, 1 month ago I changed it. But before, I still had to do the necessary transformation because you have to look at the whole chart, and the whole chart first of all shows everything. All of the planets are above the horizon,
Yes,
right?
that's I
So
wanted
it's
to
all
say.
about
Yes, yes.
going out, expressing yourself, doing your
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Pluto on midheaven, what does Pluto on midheaven mean? It means transforming your career,
Mm-hmm.
transforming
Yes.
your life path, right? At first I came here to relax and do nothing, and then it got more and more uncomfortable, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to show you different charts too. This is just one chart that already showed me, just like before, with the chart of here, of arriving, where it showed me, look, it's time to work, right,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't take
Mm-hmm.
too seriously. This one also showed me that, right, it's time to
Yes.
change something in your career. Doing nothing is not a career. Do something, right? So that was very interesting. Again, I saw that I'm going to have financial troubles, the big trouble that I had here. Usually when you get a company, you get, when you start a company here, you get your tax number within 7 days,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sometimes much faster. Now it took them uh, 4 months to get that. 4 months to
Mm.
get my tax
Wow.
number. So 4 months I didn't have access to my money, because
Wow.
otherwise I would have to pay taxes for that, right? So this is
Problems.
so I didn't know how it makes sense, but I knew
Hmm.
that there's gonna be some financial troubles, right?
So
Now,
when you
yeah,
know that things like this are a kind of predisposition, and you know that you have
you're
some
well,
probably in the future some,
you're not too um you're not too shocked when things happen, right?
that's
That's
what I want
the
to ask
that's
you, because how much should we control the charts that we create? That was actually the next story when
no, you
we jumped
like
in.
I
And
think it makes sense uh to be aware of things that are going to happen, right? But it also makes sense not to fight them or not to get angry. I think that's the worst thing, is to get angry about things that are
or
happening,
to try to
right?
escape could be another option.
Yeah, like, definitely escapism or fighting it, usually, because, like, what are you trying to fight?
Mhm.
Nature, God? It just doesn't work like that. And it's also like, being angry is just waste your energy,
Yes.
right? So
So, knowing
um
astrology, you had, I guess, I hope, some money on your pocket because of
yeah, of
that
course.
potential situation. So,
Yeah.
this did a huge difference in the way how you handled the story.
Yeah.
Because a lot
Yeah.
of people
Yeah.
are expecting to tell you in detail how the future will come. Some people are still associating the astrology with this crazy, okay, tell me the future, which is,
Mhm.
I can't say more. I will stop here
Yeah, no,
because
it
I
of
want to be
course, like
decent.
I I I see it more like finding the right times for the right place, right?
Mhm.
That's pretty much how I see it, right? That's so, and also working with your potentials and giving them an outlet, right? That's,
Yes.
and if you
Mhm.
do that, or so there are people, like I said before, there are people who are so intuitive, they can they can pretty much get all of this with no problem.
Yes.
They can,
Yes.
just by being intuitive and listening to themselves.
Hmm.
Now, it's a lot of people can't listen to themselves
Yeah,
because our
unfortunately.
parents, our environment, everything shapes us, everything tries to force us to be something that we might not be.
But
So
astrology
that's,
can prepare you very well in
yeah,
at least to put yourself in the healthy position
exactly,
to be prepared
exactly.
to handle something which it
Yeah,
will
yeah,
inevitably come to you. And do you still have
that's the point.
charts? You still want
Yeah.
to show us some charts?
So
I'm more and
um
more curious now, but I am with the
yeah,
eye on the clock
of
too. So
of course, of course. So again, I knew that some things had to change, uh,
you prepared
and I
yourself.
and I
Yes.
knew at some point I had to start my own business, right? To really do
Hmm.
something, because I started
Hmm.
the business before, but I was like, I'm not gonna use it for now. But then, this already showed me, and now also Saturn in 10th house, right? Like, do something significant, right? Now,
You look to me, you seems it seems you are a very organized person, or probably that's how you look, but probably you are not in reality. I don't know, I'm just asking you. So having these two charts and knowing that
mhm,
such a thing it's coming in your future, your
mhm.
close future, being prepared but probably not very in detail, you had a different plan for that time of the year. There are people here around me, especially here in Germany, who are used to planify with 6 months in advance. I will do that and this and that and this. And are you the same
um,
type of person or not? Because this is another story how
I'm
much this
I'm
situation change
I'm
an
very
initial plan.
structured. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very structured when it comes to knowing what I want
Mm-hmm.
and making it happen, but I'm not as tidied up and structured and organized as I wished when it comes to my personal life, right?
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm definitely I have a strong will and I know exactly what I want and I go after it. And a lot of the times I get what I want, which is why it's so much harder to accept when things don't work out the way that I want it to work out.
Yes. Okay.
But this is like one of the talents that I have. At the same point, it's very, very challenging for me to organize myself properly,
Okay.
right? Personally. So it I know that, whatever happens, there was always going to be a way. And another things, I didn't try to micromanage or force things again too much to in
Mm-hmm.
order to. I mean, sure, I saw that there's going to be a challenging situation, but then again, you can either try to make it as comfortable and easy as possible, or you're going to be like, okay, the universe wants to teach me a lesson. Go
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
ahead, right?
You know how to
That
work
a
with
lot.
yourself. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, and
That's
I know if it's for my benefit, it's pretty
yes.
much like I'm like, since all my life I knew how to save money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
always knew, like, I knew the benefit of just having money.
Yes,
When
absolutely.
my parents are like, well, I'm not going to buy you that toy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't care, I'm going to buy it myself, right? That was one of the first things why I actually was so interested in having my own money,
Ah,
because
that's a
it
good
was
tip
for
for
me.
my daughter too. Thank
Yeah,
you. I need to
yeah,
teach her.
yeah. You don't want to buy it, I'm going to buy it, right? It's my
Yes,
freedom now.
yes.
So and they kind of, like, my parents respected. I mean, they could have still said, you're not going to buy this or that,
Mm-hmm.
but they did accept that. And that was a very good, it was
Lesson,
good to be, yeah, to be
training.
organized in that.
Yes, a good training.
Definitely,
Absolutely.
definitely.
And
Now,
what?
this chart here,
Yes. What do we
right?
have here? Tell me.
This
Mm-hmm.
chart here is the exact moment when I got my tax number,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm not making this up. I got it exactly on February 22nd,
Okay.
2022. Right? If
Hmm.
I mean in Germany or in Europe, the day comes first, then the month, then the
Yes.
year. So it's 2202
Hmm.
2022. Right? That's
22
the exact.
February. Let's say like
Yes.
this.
Yes.
Okay.
So 22222. Lots of twos. And it was
2022.
exactly. Yes, and it was exactly at 12 p.m. That's when I got it. Right? And here you can see the part of fortune and the sun exactly on the midheaven.
Hmm.
Jupiter's in the 10th house, Neptune's in the
Yeah.
10th house, um, Venus and Mars, right, in the 8th house. Pluto is there too, right, in
Wow.
its own house, pretty much.
Yes.
Um, except for the moon, everything is above the horizon,
Hmm.
right? And I mean, this again screams for astrology, right? I mean, in Pisces, it's exactly there. Money, money of others, making money through others. All of this is like very very obvious, and it's also like showing yourself, showing
And the
what you
path of
got.
fortune.
Yes,
That
with the
too.
part of fortune, being lucky
Fixed.
with
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
um so that was the chart. Again, this I still didn't start my business, but I was just try to observing it, maybe ignoring it. And then and then when I returned, I was in Asia for 5 or 6 weeks,
Hmm.
because it was getting pretty cold in the winter. I'm talking about January, February. So I was there from pretty much like mid of February to the beginning of April. I was in Asia, and when I returned, once again, just made a screenshot of my phone of the time when I touched the ground when I returned to Cyprus.
Wow.
And once again, you see all of this energy. I mean, this is really screaming at finally do your business, man.
Yes.
It's time,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
And I
Like an
mean, look,
invitation, almost like an invitation.
yeah, and look where Saturn is in the ninth house, right? What am I
Yes.
talking about? I'm talking about
Hmm.
relocation, right? I'm working on relocation, right? So
Hmm.
teaching people about it, helping people with that. So that's definitely something that this energy is definitely, um, I'm giving it the right outlet, right? I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do now.
Hmm.
Now, still, I didn't listen to that. And then I had the Mars return, right? The Mars return meaning every 2 years, right? Mars goes back to the same place, just like the solar return. Almost nobody looks at other charts than the solar return, but the Mars return is also very significant. And you
Yes.
can see that Jupiter set exactly on Mars,
Wow.
exactly,
Yes. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So very lucky spot. Now, which sign is my midheaven in Cyprus? It's in Aries,
It's an
right?
Eris. Yes. Hmm.
So obviously something that sits on my um and you can see it here, right? This is the Mars return on my Cyprus chart. You can
Wow.
see,
Yeah.
right? This is
Hmm.
very beneficial. Now you can also see, me doing something that nobody else does.
Missing such an opportunity, you would have
Yeah.
been really, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was starting to get depressed of not doing things. And I mean,
Yes.
after seeing this chart, I was like, okay, finally, you got me. I'm gonna do it now. And that was pretty much when I started my Q&A on the website.
Hmm. Hmm.
I did a Q&A door there, asking, telling people to ask me anything about astrology, and they did. And then I answered everything very lengthy on the astrocartography group, and
Yes.
that got me 35 requests, and 25 booked me right away.
You are
Yeah,
very active on that page, and I would invite everybody who is here now, and they will suddenly discover us by accident or with purpose, just to visit your
yeah,
page, because
yeah,
that's a first visit card. And
yeah.
how? What about your site?
I don't have a website yet. I have
Last
an
time you
email
told
address.
me it wasn't working, still not ready, still not active, still
Yeah,
not
well,
okay.
I'm
But Facebook,
busy
there
with
is the
with doing yeah, I'm busy with starting my LinkedIn profile to do that.
okay. I
So
know you're
yeah, it's
busy. I've got a
and
lot of
I've
feedbacks after our first meeting, and a lot of people wrote me and they were asking me in private on my email how can they contact you, not only
yeah,
on the. And this is a very good signal.
I
I
have
had
a,
a
I have a
story.
Calendly I have a Calendly link, so that's the only thing that I have so far, a Calendly link and an email address, so you can still book me.
Yes.
But I still don't have a website yet. I'm just the thing is when when you have a lot of business coming in, it's
Hmm.
just it's if I have enough time to take a breath again, or I feel like, okay, now it's going down, I need more people, then I'm gonna do the website. Or
Yes.
if I really see that the universe once again really is like, okay, now it's time, now it's time,
Now
now
it's
it's time.
time.
But as you can
I
see, it took me 6 months to accept that I had to work, right? So I
absolutely.
like I said, I'm not very flexible. I'm not very. I need to be hit by the universe several times until I understand what I need to do.
Yeah, the main
Just
majority of us probably we function like this. And I just
yeah.
want to show you something because I told you in the beginning of the dialogue that I have a story prepared for you. If you just
Mhm.
finish to share, because I would like to share
Yes.
something.
Go ahead.
And last time you said that I will share my chart. I will
Hmm.
just share my chart. So this is Placidus
Hmm.
house system, Clar. I don't know. Do you see the red point on the chart or just I see now?
Yeah, I see the red
Mm,
point. Yeah, yeah,
you see the red point. I'm
yeah,
going to find better here. Okay, do you see the red point?
yeah.
Um, as you see, I have Mercury here located into the 12th house in Aries. And why I'm showing you Mercury? Because I don't know if you work with the cusp of a house in a
Oh yeah,
Placidus
I do.
system. If
I do.
you try to see the aspects in between the
Hmm.
cusps and some
Hmm.
specific points in your chart and planets, and you told me that in astrocartography, actually why I want to tell you this story, I just want to ask you without being prepared as always. As you see, I'm just
Hmm.
improvising. Um, um, you said that I have this square in between Saturn and Sun, and this is already a tension in my chart. And I moved in Germany, where I'm living now, and I have this problem too because of the Germany chart.
Hmm.
Again, this energy is activated, but I was wondering because recently I had a webinar in Romanian language where I was studying about these connections in between. Look at my ninth house. So my Saturn, it's in Cancer on the third house. In the third house. And why I want to talk about this? Because Saturn, it's located
Hmm.
exactly on my communication field. And if I was struggling with something here, this is the communication. One of the reasons why I can't say I feel very well here, it is that I have big problems in learning the language, in
Ah,
creating
ah.
bridges with the people from here. And I
Okay.
discovered recently that probably one of these problems it's gaved by the next aspect. The third
Hmm.
house, theoretically, when I speak about communication, I'm thinking about Mercury. And Mercury,
Okay.
it's here in Aries, and it's doing a
Hmm.
square with the cusp of the ninth house. And
Hmm.
I associate the ninth house with faraway lands, foreign places, cultures, all the signification of the ninth house. And I was
Hmm.
thinking maybe if you watch this chart and if you see this chart, you would be tempted to say, Patricia, you will be always deep down in your heart a Romanian woman. Why? Because I
Hmm.
have the Cancer sign on the third house and with the Saturn located there. The Romanian girl, the core of my Romanian mentality will never be
Hmm.
extracted, will never be melted or
Sure.
put it away.
Sure.
So definitely this chart, it's already set it from the moment of the birth
Hmm.
in this direction to function like this. Wherever I would go or travel or move, let's imagine that suddenly I want to move now in Australia. I'm absolutely
Yeah.
sure I will probably have the same problems in communication with that
Oh,
culture, that
I
mentality.
understand that.
Because of this
Sure.
tension, I was thinking between Mercury and the cusp of the ninth house.
Hmm.
And why I watched that house? Not only because I associate that house with foreign places and faraway places from home, but I associate, I'm giving you this
Yeah.
example because of the Saturn. Saturn is ruling the Capricorn. And of course, all that three houses actually, because I have the ninth house, the 10th house,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
11th house.
Yeah.
Now I would ask you, considering this, how much can I adapt having such a chart? Because we talk about astrocartography, and
Hmm.
of course, I would think now very fast where can I go to feel better? How can I adjust this energy in feeling better? Having such a chart, I think it's really difficult. How can astrocartography help such a person in specifically exactly this example?
So the the overall communication, right, in astrocartography is
Mm-hmm.
definitely Mercury, right? That's
Yes.
definitely Mercury, or in the relocation astrology, also the third house, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, when you have Saturn in the third house, going to a different place. I mean, if we were to look at the same chart in Germany, it's just gonna give you, a different chart. Where is your Saturn in the German relocation chart?
I don't have the
Do
chart
you know that?
prepared. Mm-mm. No,
Uh,
I
Let me
don't.
just look. I don't
I'm
need to share
not.
my screen. I just look at it here, and I can see it.
I'm not prepared with that
Patricia,
chart. And
there
I
is
don't want now to
Ulm.
use this opportunity in having a personal analyze. No, I just want to clarify
Mhm.
some aspects which I was just
Well,
discovering during the last weeks, this story. And I was definitely curious about.
no, of course. Oh, it totally makes sense.
Hmm.
So the Saturn, if I see this correctly, is in the fourth house in Ulm in Germany,
Wow.
right? So
Okay. Yes.
it's not in the third house anymore. So
Hmm.
this is more about home and everything. Um, and
And my fourth house, it's with the cusp in Cancer, so it's still under
yes,
the same
exactly,
influence.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So that's definitely um, that's a difference there, right? So you don't have the from that perspective, like yes, it's true the natal chart definitely has an impact and it still has an impact, but at the same time the relocation charts, especially with the synastry to the countries, right, that will have an impact as well. And if you, for example, if you find a place, that puts favorable Mercury on Mercury, Sun on Mercury,
Hmm.
uh, Moon on Mercury, anything that kind of is an easy
Communication will
Mercury
be
aspect.
improved.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So you can find places like that, right? Um, and also your Mercury line in general, right, are
Hmm.
definitely, again, you don't have to move there, but
Hmm.
going there in order to take out that can definitely be very
And I'm
helpful.
stubborn.
I definitely do believe that the cusps have a meaning. Also um, the Placidus cusps.
Hmm.
Um, I used to think, if it makes sense to use the aspects to cusps.
Hmm.
I mean, aside from the ones that we already use, like ascendant, descendant, midheaven, and icy. Um, but I think that if you look at different charts and more charts, you usually get many more conjunctions and other things that give you so much input
Hmm.
that you don't need to look at the aspects of that anymore, because the aspects are still minor. They're still
Yes,
always
yes,
minor
I understand
as
what you
long as
say.
there's not conjunctions.
Hmm.
Um, so, and I mean, I was always curious to see astrocartography from as how, what are the places where Jupiter is always in the second house, right? Things like that. Then again, I mean, I have many examples of people who were, on their Jupiter second house place, and they didn't have a good life financially, right? So it's not always just that simple as going to that
No,
place,
absolutely
but
not.
it can definitely help improve things, and it can help to learn the things in
Hmm.
order to do that.
Hmm.
When it comes to communication in general, I definitely recommend to see, what places are on your Mercury lines, check them out, see how you could remotely activate that.
Hmm.
Music, movies, writers. It can be items from there,
A good
could even be
key.
food,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
Anything
Hmm.
like that would activate your Mercury energy, and I think that's the best way to,
Yeah.
to quickly get an access to that. And then if there is like a place where you feel like you really resonate with it,
Hmm.
right, or where you feel like that place could be good for communication, then just, make sure to look at the country chart of that place,
Yes.
and then you can see, if it really is
You
as
combine
good as
them.
it seems.
And you
Yeah.
see what's activated. I never knew how to put the borders. So it was another
Ah.
type of influence because immediately people came to me. I felt invaded. I
Ah,
felt, another type of
yeah, yeah,
struggle.
yeah.
It was this one.
Yeah,
Yes,
of course.
yes, yes. Same story. Yes.
No, no,
In
totally fine.
extreme, it's
No,
going. This energy, it's going in
it's
extreme.
yeah. Well, that's very typical for Aries. But it's also actually typical, and it's something that Aries should learn very quickly is to have boundaries, right? To really put
Yes,
boundaries, strong
yes.
boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
and if you didn't, or if you don't do that enough, you're not living your nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think that's important. And I'm not saying that I'm always doing that. I also need to always,
This depends by the
recall. Yeah,
education, by the way how you grow up, by the environment,
yeah,
by everything.
of
Because
course,
if
of
you
course.
are, depends. There are a lot of
Yeah, yeah,
factors.
yeah,
But saying this, I hope you had time to show all the charts. I don't know if you still had
yeah.
something prepared.
No, that was all the charts that I have.
Okay, and thank you again very, very much. And I hope we will
You're
meet
welcome.
again. And I hope we will
Yeah,
really do probably next time something about progressions.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
And but
And
I don't want to
I
promise
think,
anything. We'll see.
yeah,
Depends
I
by.
really just hope that people, astrologers in general, start to use more different charts that
Mhm,
are not humans,
mhm.
that have a significance, right? That have a priority in their life,
Yes, a chart of a
and then
moment, of a
see,
contract, of a
yes,
meeting, of a,
what kind
whatever
of
important it
relationship that
is.
has, right? A company, right? A company, you spend when you work for a company, you spend more time than with your family, with the company, right?
Exactly,
So it makes sense to
exactly.
look at that.
Yes.
So this is very simple. You can find everything online. You can find pretty much every company's, and especially in Germany, every company's incorporation date, foundation date. You can find it all online, and you can just
Hmm.
look it up.
Yep. I
It's all
hope they will
documented.
do. And I invite people to put questions, and I'm absolutely sure you will give answers, and they will
Yes,
find you. All the information are in the text below. So thank you.
thank you. I wish you best of luck too, and I really hope that you'll always continue doing what you're doing.
I hope to.
Because it takes a while to
Yes,
really take off, but it's gonna take off at some point.
I will not stop.
So
As much as
just
it depends by me, I
continue
don't want to
feeding it.
stop.
Perfect, perfect.
Thank you.
Great.
See you soon.
Bye.